In a world where knowledge is power, understanding the subtleties of human behavior can grant you an extraordinary edge. The ability to subtly influence and guide others, to sway opinions and actions without overt force, is a powerful skill. This guide delves into 20 dark psychology tricks that, when applied with finesse and understanding, can work on almost anyone 99% of the time. From reducing conflict to making yourself more memorable, these techniques leverage fundamental psychological principles to subtly but effectively shape interactions. Trick 1: Reducing the risk of conflict. Anticipating potential aggression in social or professional settings is a vital skill for maintaining harmony. When you sense that someone might become confrontational, sit next to them rather than across the room or table. This strategic placement creates several psychological barriers to conflict. First, direct anger or hostility is harder to express towards someone in close proximity. The need to turn their body to face you adds a physical inconvenience. Secondly, sitting side by side creates a sense of intimacy and personal connection, making it psychologically uncomfortable for the person to maintain aggression. This technique leverages the fundamental human discomfort with direct confrontation in close quarters, thus diffusing potential conflicts before they escalate. Trick 2: Destroying earworms. Earworms, those pesky songs that replay incessantly in your mind, can be incredibly distracting. This phenomenon is linked to the Zeigarnik effect, which posits that the human brain fixates on incomplete tasks. To break free from an earworm, think deliberately of the song's ending. By mentally completing the melody, you signal to your brain that the task is finished. This simple yet effective technique can reset your mental focus, allowing you to concentrate on more productive activities. Research has shown that resolving unfinished tasks can reduce mental stress and improve cognitive clarity, making this trick a valuable tool for mental hygiene. Trick 3: Always agreeable. The act of nodding while speaking is a subtle yet powerful way to influence others to agree with you. This technique works because of the mirror neuron system in the brain, which causes people to subconsciously mimic the actions of those they are interacting with. When you nod as you present your ideas or suggestions, the person you're speaking with is more likely to start nodding too, leading them to unconsciously agree with your statements. This technique can be particularly effective in negotiations, sales pitches, and any situation where gaining agreement is crucial. However, it's important to use this technique judiciously, as overdoing it can appear insincere or manipulative. Trick 4: Winning at rock, paper, scissors. Rock, paper, scissors is often seen as a game of chance, but you can tilt the odds in your favor with a simple psychological trick. Just before the game begins, ask your opponent a question. This brief moment of distraction can disrupt their decision-making process, making them more likely to choose scissors, as it's a default choice when the brain is momentarily confused. This trick works because the human brain tends to revert to habitual patterns when under cognitive load. By creating a small amount of mental disruption, you increase the likelihood of your opponent making a predictable choice, giving you an advantage in the game. Trick 5: Fatherly advice. People are more likely to trust and believe advice that comes from authoritative or parental figures. When you want to lend credibility to your statements or suggestions, frame them as advice given to you by your father. This works because societal conditioning leads us to associate father figures with wisdom and authority. Even if the advice originates from a different source, attributing it to your father can make it more persuasive. This technique taps into deep-seated psychological associations, making your statements more likely to be accepted without question. Use this trick to bolster your arguments and increase your influence in discussions and negotiations. Trick 6: Eliminating haters. Transforming someone's negative perception of you can start with a simple favor. If you sense that someone dislikes you, ask them for a minor favor, such as borrowing a pen. This request is so small that it's difficult for anyone to refuse. When they agree to help you, cognitive dissonance sets in. They begin to rationalize their actions, thinking, if I did a favor for this person, they must not be so bad. This psychological trick leverages the Ben Franklin effect, which suggests that doing a favor for someone increases your positive feelings towards them. Over time, these small interactions can shift their overall perception of you, turning a potential adversary into an ally. Trick 7: Stalker Detector. If you ever feel like someone is watching you, there's a simple yet effective way to confirm your suspicion. Yawning is a universally contagious behavior. To test if someone has been watching you, yawn conspicuously in their line of sight. If they yawn shortly after, it's a strong indication that they were indeed watching you. This trick works because yawning triggers a response in the brain that is hardwired to mimic the actions of others, especially in a social context. This method can be particularly useful in social situations where you want to discreetly gauge someone's interest or attention without confronting them directly. Trick 8: Adrenaline Rush. Choosing an activity that involves an adrenaline rush on a date can significantly enhance your companion's perception of enjoyment and attraction. Adrenaline stimulates the brain's arousal system, which can intensify emotions and create a sense of excitement. Activities like roller coasters, bungee jumping, or even a scary movie can elevate heart rates and trigger the release of dopamine, a neurotransmitter associated with pleasure and bonding. This physiological response can make your date associate the thrilling experience with you, strengthening their emotional connection to you. This technique leverages the principles of misattribution of arousal, where the brain links heightened physiological states to the people we are with, enhancing feelings of attraction and connection. Trick 9: Being memorable. To ensure that you leave a lasting impression in any situation, focus on creating strong beginnings and endings. Research in psychology suggests that people remember the first and last items in a sequence better than the middle ones, a phenomenon known as the serial position effect. When scheduling an interview, aim to be either the first or last candidate. On a date, plan memorable activities or gestures at the start and end of your time together. This strategy helps anchor your presence in the other person's memory, making you stand out. By crafting impactful beginnings and endings, you can make a lasting impression that outshines the more forgettable middle moments. Trick 10: Shoot for the stars. When negotiating or making a request, aim high initially. This technique, known as anchoring, involves setting a high initial demand or offer, which then influences the subsequent negotiation range. For example, if you want to sell an item for $100, start by asking for $150. The high anchor sets a reference point, making your actual desired amount seem more reasonable by comparison. People are more likely to agree to a moderate request after rejecting an extreme one. This trick works because of the contrast principle, where the second, more reasonable request is perceived as a concession, prompting the other person to meet you halfway. Trick 11: The Great Listener. Active listening is a powerful tool for building rapport and trust. When conversing with someone, paraphrase their statements and repeat them back. This technique shows that you are truly paying attention and value what they are saying. For instance, if a friend says, "I'm feeling overwhelmed at work," you might respond, "It sounds like work has been really stressful for you lately." This practice, known as reflective listening, validates their feelings and encourages them to open up more. However, it's important to use this technique sparingly and naturally, as overuse can come across as insincere or mechanical. Trick 12: Trust Mirror. Mirroring is a subtle but effective way to build trust and rapport. When interacting with someone, subtly mimic their body language, posture, and gestures. For example, if they lean forward, you might do the same. If they cross their arms, you can mirror this movement a few moments later. This technique works because of the principle of similarity in the mirror neuron system, which causes people to feel more connected to those who appear similar to them. However, it's crucial to be subtle and natural to avoid making the other person feel self-conscious or manipulated. Trick 13: Learning whilst teaching. Teaching others is one of the most effective ways to solidify your understanding of a subject. This technique, known as the protégé effect, suggests that teaching forces you to organize your knowledge and present it clearly, reinforcing your own learning in the process. When you teach someone else, you need to articulate concepts and answer questions, which deepens your comprehension and highlights any gaps in your knowledge. Whether it's a formal teaching setting or simply explaining a concept to a friend, this method can significantly enhance your retention and mastery of the material. Trick 14: Warm hands. The temperature of your hands can influence the first impression you make. When shaking hands with someone, warm hands convey friendliness and approachability, while cold hands can suggest aloofness or discomfort. To ensure your hands are warm before an important handshake, try holding a warm drink or rubbing your hands together. This small but significant detail can make your introduction more pleasant and memorable, helping to establish a positive connection right from the start. Trick 15: Eye color. Maintaining eye contact is a key component of effective communication, but it can be challenging. To ensure the right amount of eye contact, make a conscious effort to note the other person's eye color during your conversation. This focus naturally extends the duration of eye contact without making it uncomfortable. Eye contact fosters connection and trust, making your interactions more engaging and memorable. Balancing eye contact with occasional breaks ensures that it feels natural and not forced, enhancing the overall quality of your communication. Trick 16: Laughing admirers. Observing social dynamics can reveal much about relationships and alliances within a group. When a group laughs together, individuals often glance at the person they feel closest to or most aligned with. This behavior is a subconscious way of seeking social validation and connection. By paying attention to who looks at whom during laughter, you can gain insights into the group's social structure and identify key relationships. This information can be valuable in both social and professional settings, helping you navigate group dynamics more effectively. Trick 17: Getting information. If someone is withholding information, a strategic use of silence can encourage them to divulge more. After they provide a partial response, maintain eye contact and remain silent. The uncomfortable silence creates psychological pressure, compelling them to fill the void by continuing to speak. This technique leverages the human discomfort with silence and the social norm to maintain conversational flow. By using this method, you can often extract additional information that the person might have been reluctant to share initially. Trick 18: The Snackman. Eating can have a calming effect in tense situations. If tensions rise during a conversation or meeting, start eating something. This action signals relaxation and non-threat, encouraging others to mirror your behavior and de-escalate their own tension. Eating is associated with safety and comfort, making it an effective tool for diffusing conflicts and creating a more relaxed environment. This technique can be particularly useful in informal settings or when managing small groups. Trick 19: Clearing a path. Navigating through crowded spaces can be challenging, but a simple visual cue can help clear your path. Look in the direction you want to go, making your intention clear to those around you. People instinctively respond to your line of sight and will move out of your way. This non-verbal cue is effective because it signals your intended path without the need for verbal communication. By confidently looking ahead, you can navigate through crowds more efficiently and with less hassle. Trick 20: Conditioning with affirmation. Subtle reinforcement can influence someone's speech patterns and behavior. During a one-on-one conversation, identify a word or phrase the other person uses frequently. Each time they say it, give a positive affirmation, such as a nod or a smile. This conditioning technique leverages positive reinforcement to encourage the repetition of the behavior. Over time, the person will use the word or phrase more often, associating it with your positive responses. This method can be particularly useful in building rapport and creating a sense of familiarity and comfort in your interactions. Inclusion. Mastering these dark psychology tricks provides a toolkit for influencing and understanding those around you. While these techniques are powerful, they should be used ethically and responsibly. Manipulating others for personal gain can lead to negative consequences. Instead, use these insights to foster positive interactions, build trust, and create meaningful connections. Knowledge of human behavior is a double-edged sword. Wield it wisely.